What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Punt Intended. It's your host, Tate. I have Colin. I have Hudo with me. The whole gang's here. We're back, and it's time for Conference Championship Week. So we'll start off first by, reviewing last week. Colin did not send us picks in. I also did not remind him, so partly my fault. I forgot all about it, to be honest. But no big deal. We'll start off.
Out
With
of
Hudo. We'll start off with Hudo. Who is your biggest winners from Week 14? That is last week.
My biggest winners are, there was a bunch of great games, but my biggest winner is Georgia. Georgia had the opportunity to, uh, clinch the playoffs or have to beat Texas. And having to beat Texas is not a bad bet. It's not a good choice, a route for you trying to get into the playoffs. So I feel like Georgia clutched it up in a time where that was one of the craziest games I've watched all season. So
I agree. Crazy game. Great way. It was a great way to kick off rivalry week for sure. Colin, do you have any big winners from Week 14?
I mean, nothing that really stands out because you look at Michigan beating Ohio State. Ohio State's are frauds.
Oh boy!
But there wasn't anything. There wasn't
I would
anything that
also
stood out
agree
to me as like a big
with
win.
Michigan.
Because I
A
would
big
say
win because
Georgia was a big loss, even though they won. They won the game, it got beat. I feel like they lost a lot of recruiting with how Georgia Tech played. And so, that's my thoughts on it. But I didn't really have any big winners other than Michigan beating. That's the game. You won the game. So
yeah, I figured everybody was going to pick Michigan. So I did not pick Michigan. I picked the winner were college football fans. Bunch of good football. Rivalry week did not disappoint. And my Florida Gators got revenge on the Noles. So I was happy as could be. Great weekend. The Texas A&M game was pretty good as well. A pretty good defensive battle. But yeah, anyway, moving along, I'll start it off. Biggest losers. And this one makes me so happy. Miami. Suck it, Miami. You're out the playoff, baby. Let me tell you something, Miami. You went to the portal. You grabbed your generational quarterback, right? And you're going to hate me for this. Don't care. Yeah, you beat Florida 41-17. Does it really matter? No, because you didn't do shit. So, 41-17 doesn't matter to me. You can say it in the comments. Biggest losers, you got your quarterback. You went in the portal, spent a bunch of money. You had a really easy schedule. Look where you ended up. At home. Still didn't win you still haven't won a conference title since you've been in the ACC. You're frauds. It's over. Those are my biggest losers. I thought it was hilarious. We'll go with Colin next. Colin, biggest losers.
I'm telling you, it's Georgia. Georgia isn't elite this year like they have been when they won the NCAA titles 2 years in a row. But like I said, with Georgia losing, it showed a lot of shoddy defense. What offensive coordinators, if you've got a running quarterback, what they can do to beat Georgia, because a good defense doesn't allow Georgia. You know what I'm saying? If they get down 17-0 to Texas, ball game. Alabama, ball game, like they did against Alabama, lost. I just think their defense has too many gaps. The offense clicks sometimes, and to be elite, you can't have it click sometimes. It needs to click all the time. And I just think that one game they look like, yeah, you can win that championship. And one game it could look like, hey, you're going to lose to a 7-5 team, Georgia Tech. Which I'm telling you, Georgia Tech was almost. It should have been my big winner because that coach Brent Key, I think he just increased his upside. I think players are going to want to go play for that coach.
Oh,
He's a dog.
I like him.
I think they've got a good thing going at Georgia Tech, and it'd be a good little matchup for the next couple of years.
I agree.
Especially with NIL. NIL can bring players into Atlanta.
Oh yeah, Atlanta's a hub for talent in general. If he just recruits Atlanta, he'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Odo.
I disagree. I don't think this is going to affect Georgia's recruiting. Yeah, we almost lost to Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech has beaten top three 10 teams this year.
Yeah.
If you count Florida
State,
I would be willing to bet money that if Georgia Tech played all top 10 teams, they would right now. Georgia Tech is one of the probably the best. I mean, I would say probably one of the better teams in the nation, and we've been seeing shoddy football all year. You have not, there's not been one football program that has stood out and seems like, okay, this is the guys who are going to win it all. You can't say it's Texas because Texas hasn't played anybody. And when they did play somebody, they lost. You can't say it's Oregon because look at Oregon's strength of schedule. Oregon's strength of schedule is terrible.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Hutto in the sense that I don't think any team stands out this year, in my opinion. I think there's probably 13 teams that can make the playoff right now, and I think just about any one of them can win it. But back to Colin's point about Georgia being off on just in several games, the wide receivers seem to drop a lot of balls, and then they need to get ETN healthy. You could tell the run game's kind of suffering a little bit without him. Not that it was great with him, but he's a dynamic player. He is, and it hurts me to say that as a Florida fan.
This has been the Georgia team all year long. I mean, well, are we surprised that they had to go 8 overtimes with Georgia Tech? No, I wasn't surprised at all. We've seen this all year. We've had shoddy quarterbacking. We've seen drop passes all year long. This is nothing that, it was like, oh, this is crazy. I can't believe this happened. We knew it could happen. We knew we could probably lose to Kentucky. At Kroger Field, we knew all these things were a possibility. It wasn't surprising to anybody.
The good news for Georgia,
go ahead. Because the thing of it is Georgia's coaches' inability to figure out a running quarterback. Why? If you look at all our losses in the past, or even close games, they've all been against dual threat quarterbacks that can escape that pocket and burn you up. Why can't we defend it? Why can other people? Why could Oklahoma shut down Jalen Milroe, but a bunch of 5 stars at Georgia can't? That's what I'm saying. I'm not blaming the kids at all. I'm blaming the coaches.
I don't even think this is a coaching problem. How many times?
Glenn Schumann is a fraud. He rode the coattails of Dan Lanning and Will Muschamp.
How many times have we seen our defense in the backfield and they simply lose sacks because they can't tackle?
But that's not. I understand that. That's on their fault.
What are we saying?
About containing. It ain't just about getting to the quarterback. It's about knowing your assignment. That's what I'm getting at. In an aspect
but we've also seen great football players who go to the University of Georgia who are excellent high school players. They can't understand the playbook. So who are you blaming here? Because if it's lost, people getting busted coverage. I mean, the coach can't do anything but coach you. That's it. He's not on the field. And if you can't cover what your assignment is, then that's on the players.
But it's all coming down to the coaches. That's what I'm getting at. You've got to be able to coach them to, one, if they can't understand the playbook, get them out of there. Why are they playing? If you're saying they can't understand the playbook, I'm just saying, for Georgia to win the national championship, their defense has got to get drastically better, and their offense starts to have to click on all cylinders. That's my outlook.
I agree. If we go into the playoffs, they have to play their best games of the year. But that also includes every other top 10 team who they've gone for and had close wins. They've had close losses. It's every team this season. I don't know if it's NIL screwing up the game. I don't know what it can be, attributed to. But this is every team this year. Every elite team that was supposed to be elite, that we thought were going to be elite, they've got losses they shouldn't have. And they've got close calls that they shouldn't have. Yeah. I really don't think this is a Georgia problem. I think this is an NCAA as a whole right now in the culture and climate surrounding it.
I like the discussion here, guys. What do y'all think? Yeah. To Colin's point, that Georgia does seem to struggle with running quarterbacks. Do you have a package if you're Sarkisian where you bring in Manning?
Yeah.
Because he's got burners on him for real. We'll see what happens. I like Sark as a play caller. I'm sure if we know that Georgia tends to struggle with running quarterbacks, I'm sure he does. So I'm sure he'll have a package or certain situations where he'll bring him in. You saw him come in I think it was last week against A&M. It was
On the goal
in the
line.
red zone, in the red zone, and he come in and scored a touchdown. So anyway, moving on. Oh no, wait, hold on. Who's your biggest loser? I don't think we ever got yours.
My biggest loser is Ohio State. Man, Ryan Day and his team of misfits had a chance to make a statement against a team who obviously is not the team they were last year. You lose one of the best coaches in the NCAA to the NFL, and you lose a bunch of great players. This is, we're looking at a rebuilding year, and on year one, you beat a coach who's been. How long has Ryan Day been at Ohio State?
A minute.
How long has he been recruiting at a high level?
A long time. That's a great point.
This goes back to the whole thing where the NCAA, this whole football season has been just astronomically, topsy turvy on top of his head. Nobody can ever tell what's going to happen.
And I love it. Good point.
I put that game on Ohio State. They've got the talent. Their game plan by the coaches was not it.
Oh, it was
lost
awful.
to a team that could not throw the ball.
Yep.
So,
Ryan Day is a bum, so we knew this was going to happen.
A lot of people are attributing it to the Chip Kelly, the offensive coordinator. Horrible game plan. I agree. The defense played fantastic. I think the defense, giving up 17 and you turn the ball over twice in your own red zone. I mean, you can't really fault the defense. Kicker missed 2 field goals. So a lot of Ohio State fans were mad about that. And then Chip Kelly, and I agree with him. Awful game plan. Michigan was beat up in the secondary, and they did not throw the ball past 10 yards, but maybe 3 times the entire game. You've got Jeremiah Smith, you got Emeka Egbuka, you got Cornell Tate loaded. What's the tight end? G. Scott Jr., and you don't stretch the field. You the Michigan's what would you call it? Strength of their defense is the tackles, defensive tackles, and you were trying to run the ball between the tackles all game. Idiot, just an absolute idiot. But good point, Hutto.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a rebuilding year for Michigan. If not this year, when is Ohio State going to beat them? Next year, Michigan had 0 quarterback this year. They couldn't throw the ball like Colin said. Next year, they're going to have the Bryce Underwood kid. And I mean, he's a stud. As a freshman, he's going to be a problem. So we'll see what happens. A lot of people want Ryan Day gone. I think he needs to win a couple of playoff games to keep his job. That's my opinion. We'll see what happens, though. Again,
if he goes 1 and done, he's gone.
Yeah, but Ohio State fans need to be careful. And I've told Florida fans this, even I've been guilty of it too. When a coach screws up, you want him gone. I did it earlier this year with Billy Napier. Who are you going to hire that's better than Ryan Day? You're not getting Dan Lanning. I don't think he's leaving Oregon. Sarkisian's not leaving Texas. Kirby's not leaving Georgia. I mean, who are you going to get that's better than Ryan Day right now? But I know they don't want to hear that.
Jesus,
moving on.
Me and you could have game planned better than that.
Well, I think I would blame that on Chip Kelly. I think Michigan has had a better team the last couple of years.
That's what I'm getting.
But he hired Chip Kelly, and he allowed Chip Kelly to run that game plan. Yeah, so
call that.
Yeah, so I don't know. Ryan Day confuses me, man. I feel like he's a good coach, and then in the big games, rivalry games or big games like that, he just finds a way to lose, kind of like James Franklin.
And that's what I'm getting at. Like in college sports, a coach is key. Just like in high school, if you don't have a good coach, you're playing with kids. You got kids out there. These are 18, 19-year-old youngins. And that's more what I'm getting at. It's in the NFL. Even though they're getting paid like the NFL now, they're still kids. And that's the biggest thing. It all comes down on the coaches at that point. Yeah, the kids have to perform, but they're also kids.
Yeah, I agree. All right, moving on. Players of the week. I'll start with Colin. Did you have a player of the week from week 14? Anybody that stood out to you?
Adebo from Arizona State.
Dude's a dog.
Dude's a stud. Yeah, he's a stud. I think Arizona State's gonna. If they win, they should win against Iowa State in the Big 12. If they get in, I think they can make some noise in the playoff.
They really can. I think so too.
Good running back.
Good running back, and a defense is solid too. Yeah, I agree. 100%. Hutto, did you have a player of the week from week 14?
I had a player of the week and I had a runner-up, and my player of the week is Dan Jackson. He saved.
Oh yeah, he's a dog, dude. I like that kid.
Dude's a freaking walk-on, man. I mean, he wasn't even thought about not even playing football this year, and arguably is having one of the best years a white boy on defense has ever had. So he's my player of the week. Okay. Well, Georgia Tech's quarterback Haynes King, this dude stayed in the game the entire game. He really took control of the field. They might have not, got their dreams of upsetting Georgia's chances of being in the playoffs because, with Georgia, with the game on the line against Texas, being, keeping your season alive, that would have been a very, very, very tough game for Georgia in Atlanta. With that being said, I think so many people sleep on this Georgia Tech team because they played Florida, upset Florida in Ireland. We didn't even know what Florida was going to be. They were ranked, super high because of the year they had before.
Florida State, Florida State, not Florida, because
Florida
Florida
State. I'm sorry.
Now we might play Georgia Tech in a bowl game, and we would probably be a good game, I think.
But I'm telling you that this Georgia Tech team is making leaps and bounds of what they were several years ago, even within last year. Georgia Tech always plays Georgia well during rivalry week, but this is something different. They've got something clicking over there. So mainly just the whole Georgia Tech team, or the team as a whole. I mean, they played super well, and I was really impressed.
Yeah, I was too. I think college football, the world was impressed with them. They look good. Mine is going to be Curtis Rourke, quarterback, Indiana. He's had a pretty good year this year, coming off of a tough loss to Ohio State a couple weeks ago. He bounces back, throws 6 touchdowns, 350 yards, gets him a little bit of momentum heading into what I would assume will be a playoff berth. But yeah, he's my player of the week. I knew who you guys were going to pick pretty much. But we'll move on to upset alert. We'll start with Hutto. Do you have anybody you're putting on upset alert in conference championship week?
Let's see. Let's see. Who do we got? Ohio State and Penn State, Pitt, SMU.
No, it's Oregon, Penn State.
This is not an update. Golly, man. This is what happens when your computer's being super unfortunate. So who do we have this week?
You got it's all conference championship week. We're going to talk about Texas, Georgia, Oregon, Penn State, Clemson, SMU, Iowa State, Arizona State.
Okay, I am picking Penn State to upset Oregon. I don't know why. I just have a feeling that this might be Penn State's game of the year.
I like it. So I put Oregon on upset alert. I don't necessarily think Penn State will win the game, but they got a big physical quarterback, Drew Aller. He can run a little bit, semi-sneaky athletic, and their defense is solid. All the recipes for possibly an upset. I think Oregon's a better team, but at times this year they have played not up to their ability. So I'll put Oregon on upset alert, but you'll see later I'm probably going to stay with Oregon to win. Colin, you got anybody on upset alert?
Give me UNLV beating Boise State.
That's a good one.
To shake it all up.
My brain will be fried trying to figure out who's going to get in the playoff on Saturday. But by Saturday night we'll have a pretty much a done deal based on where the rankings were. I like that pick.
Who are y'all contributing Boise State's success to this year? Is it the coaching staff? Is it Genty, running the ball like he's been doing? What do you think?
It's all around a group effort, I think. The coaching staff is pretty solid. The quarterback's solid. Genty's a dog. You can hand it to him 30 times a game if you need to. I don't see why you would need to, but they do it sometimes anyway. The defense is solid. Just all around, they're a pretty good team, man. And if they make the playoff, and I know UNLV ain't taking it lightly, don't take it lightly because they're good.
Quarterback's thrown for 2,500 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions all year. So, I mean, quarterback's no slouch either.
Yeah, taking care of the football, letting your defense play, and feeding Genty, baby. All right. So we're going to head into the pick'em. I'll give you a little update. Hutto is 31-23, went 4-3 last week. Colin is 33-6. He didn't pick last week, so he doesn't have a score. I'm 36-18 and went 3-4. All right. So here we go. Picking the games of the week, and we're going to start where Colin dropped his upset alert. UNLV versus Boise State. Yeah, that's the Mountain West Championship. Boise State favored by 3.5. We'll start it off with Hutto. Who you got in this game, buddy?
I'm gonna have to go with Boise. I think they've got something special going on this year, and I don't really think they're gonna let this one die. I think they're gonna pull it out and show everybody what they're made of, and have their spot.
I like it. Colin, who you got in this one?
This is going to be a little foreshadowing to another pick, but it's hard to beat a team twice. It doesn't matter. I mean, you look at it, it's hard to beat a team twice. Last ball game they played, Boise State beat them 29-24 in a close one. But give me UNLV. I think they can figure out how to somewhat slow Gindy down, and the Aztecs take it.
I like it. So I love UNLV. I think they're a complete team. You know, you guys remember when their quarterback sat out at the beginning of the year, starting the quarterback, said he was done because he wasn't getting the amount of NIL money he was supposed to get. They're a long shot from that now. Now they've got a chance to make some noise and make the college football playoff. But I think the teams are pretty even. But there's one person that can take over the game, and that's Ashton Jeanty. So I'm going to pick Boise State. I think they're going to give him the ball 25 times plus, and that'll be the difference. Jeanty will be the difference.
Some of them.
All righty. Moving right along, we'll go. What game do we want to go to next? Let's go Iowa State versus Arizona State. Arizona State favored by 2.5. I'll start this one off, and I'll say huge fan of what Kenny Dillingham has done at Arizona State. He took over a program that in the dumps, and last year they had a bad year too. I think they were picked last in their conference this year, if I'm not mistaken, or right near the bottom. And here they are, conference championship week, with a chance to win and advance to the college football playoff. And that's who I'm going to pick. I'm going Arizona State. I think Iowa State has been a little susceptible to the run, and Scadabo's a dog. So give me Cam Scadabo, give me the Sun Devils, give me Dillingham. I'll take Arizona State. And we'll go to Colin next.
Yeah, give me what? How do they do their little thing? They got like a little
forks up, something like that.
Yeah, something.
That's shocker, Tate.
Same thing, Doc.
Yeah,
give
me Arizona State. I think the quarterback's good, good enough to manage it, and Scadabo he breaks it away a little bit. So
Scadabo's a dog, bro. He really is.
Give me Scadabo to scat down the field for probably 2 tutties, and yeah, Arizona covers. Arizona State covers.
Yep. Hutto, who you got, big dog?
I also have Arizona State. I really thought about kind of switching to Iowa just to make it fun for everybody. But I think Arizona State's going to show out, and they're going to prove to, have one of the best seasons they've had in a very long time.
I agree. Both of these coaches are guys that I could see moving on to maybe a bigger program soon. Matt Campbell, his name has come up in a bunch of coaching searches in the past. I think it's finally probably time for him to move on. I think he's probably hit a ceiling at Iowa State. Same thing, Kenny Dillingham. He's a hot name on the coaching world right now, so look out for him to maybe get a big time job. But he's done a great job at Arizona State for sure. All right, moving on. We'll go Oregon versus Penn State next. Oregon favored by 3.5. Hutto, who you got in this one, big dog?
I've got Penn State winning this game and ruining what has been, a perfect regular season for Oregon. We were actually talking about this at work the other day, and I started looking at Oregon's schedule. And not that Penn State's schedule is any tougher, but Oregon's strength of schedule was not as strong as I would like to see for a team that, everybody's got picked to win the national championship this year. So we'll see. I think Penn State they humble them in their conference championship game.
I agree. Colin, who you got in this one, buddy?
They're perfect heading in, and they're going to be perfect leaving. When has James Franklin ever won a big game? Had a chance this year at Ohio State, at home, to beat Ohio State. Couldn't get it done. They've got some good players, and they've got like I guess he's a tight end. Penn State does. If they get him involved a lot, which I thought they should have more on the Ohio State game, but I just think Oregon's playmakers are just going to be too much against Penn State. I don't see them getting it done. So give me Oregon, and they definitely cover. I think they win by probably at least 10.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go with Colin on this one. I really fought over this one because I think Oregon was probably assuming that they were going to play Ohio State up until, about 3 p.m. last Saturday when they lost. And they were like, well, Now we're playing either Indiana or Penn State. If Penn State wins, we're playing Penn State. If they lose, we're playing Indiana. So I think that they were looking forward to that. I think the game's gonna be close. I do, but I'm gonna go Oregon just because I like Dan Lanning a lot. I do. Dude's a stud. You saw him on signing day yesterday or day before, whenever it was, just having a field day with people, man. That Nike bread is not something to be played with. They can drop in big bags. I'm gonna go Oregon, and I think they probably cover. All right, next game, Clemson. This is one of my favorite games of the weekend, not gonna lie. This is probably, I'm ready to see what Dabo's gonna have in this one. Clemson versus SMU, number 8 team in the country, taking on the number 18 team in the country. SMU favored by 2.5. We'll start with Colin on this one. Colin, who do you got in this one, buddy?
Hold on, just got a phone call. Vegas just called in. Clemson beats SMU to get in as the last team in. They'll win this game and get in at 12, being an ACC champion. I like Dabo. I think he's a stand-up guy. I do like their quarterback as well. I think he makes enough plays, runs a little bit in the game, and I think they cover.
I love it. I love it. Hutto, who you got in this one, big dog?
I've got to go with Clemson as well. This year has been a year of either teams that you thought were going to be really elite ending up being not as good as you projected, or teams that started off their first game not looking well at all. When Clemson started off with Georgia, that was not their best game of the year, but Clemson has done really nothing but get better all year long. Now, I don't think they're going to win the national championship, but I do think they pull it out against SMU.
I love it. So yeah, I agree. So that means you should probably bet SMU money line. We're all picking Clemson. I think Clemson's been there before. Dabo's coaching these games. Now, Rhett Lashley, fantastic job at SMU. Really put that program on the map in the ACC. I mean, dang. And they got some fire jerseys. I like SMU a lot. I like their quarterback. I like the offense that Rhett Lashley runs. I just like Clemson here. And I agree with Colin. I think I'm going to show you my playoff bracket I built back here in just a minute. And you'll see I have Clemson getting in as that 12th seed as well. All right, last game and my game of the week. I think it's going to be a phenomenal game. Texas and Georgia in Atlanta at the Benz, rematch, SEC title. Winner's going to get a bye in the first round of the playoffs. Loser's probably going to host a playoff game. I'll start it off. UG already beat Texas on the road. I see no reason why they won't beat them in the Benz as well. Now, like Colin said, it is hard to beat a good team twice, especially when they have a offensive mind like Steve Sarkisian calling up plays. So I expect him to be wrinkles in that offense. I expect Manning to come in sporadically throughout the game. But I just like I said for the Clemson game, Georgia's been there before several times. They've been on the big stage. Kirby's going to have them ready to play. Kirby will have a game plan as well. I'm picking Georgia. Just straight up. Give me Georgia. Hutto. Tell me, dog.
Tate, I'm going to have to agree with you. It seems like that every time since Kirby Smart has taken over the Georgia Bulldogs, it seems like the Benz has been their second home. Yes, they've been beat there, but you have so many fans that turn out. I do think Texas is going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder, and I think they're going to try to work Arch Manning into this game plan. But if you looked at the last game, and this really just depends on what Georgia team we see show up. And I think that's been, I've seen some other shows that have been talking about, this situation, and every one of them come out and say that it just depends on what Georgia team shows up. If we have the same Georgia team that comes out and gets 7 sacks, and Arch Manning had one pretty good run for, I think, 20 or 24 yards versus Georgia when he first came into the game. And then after him being in for 4 or 5 downs, you could tell him and Quinn Ewers were just looked defeated on the sidelines. And so I'm going to have to go with Georgia. I do hang that on what Georgia team do we see. Obviously, Carson Beck has been doing far better than he was in the middle of the season, because in the middle of the season, Bud was pick central. I'm hoping him and Jameis Winston met up and had a prayer to deliver them from pick sixes together. But I think Georgia's going to take this one away. Kirby Smart's been there. The players have been there. You're talking about seniors who have never lost at home ever.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
And I mean, Georgia hasn't been beat at home in 6 years. These guys have played in SEC championships. They played in national championships. I'm going with the Dogs.
Love it. The one thing I will say, Hutto, the difference I will say down the stretch, pretty much ever since the Georgia game, Texas has been able to run the ball effectively lately. They've got a running back, and they figured something out on the offensive line. They look better running the ball. So it kind of worries me a little bit that they've seemed to figure that out. But
again, that ties into strength of schedule. Who they play? You know, they played.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They played in Oklahoma, who was, you know, oddly pulled off the upset, but of a team a couple weeks ago. But you know, they played one good team all year.
They played us, dude. What are you talking about? They played Florida.
Y'all that was before Florida figured out there. I don't know what kind of voodoo y'all were doing down there.
We had figured it out. We just didn't have DJ at that game.
That's before y'all figured out some kind of formula to winning.
Yeah, I think Billy Napier is from Louisiana, or he came from Louisiana coaching. I think he's got a little voodoo Creole in him going on. But Colin, spit some facts on me here, brother. Who you got in this game? Texas, Georgia.
Give me the horns, baby.
Hey, you know how I know Georgia's going to win this time? It's because this is the exact same split.
Oh, I think I did pick Georgia the first time, too.
Yeah, we both picked Georgia the first time.
I picked Georgia.
Are you sure? Or were you?
I picked Georgia. Positive.
Did you put on upset alert?
I picked Alabama to beat Georgia, and I picked Texas to beat or to lose to
Colin's
Georgia.
Right.
It's hard to beat. I am right. It's hard to beat a team twice. It really is, and I think Sark's going to have a game plan, and I really don't think. I mean, what's there to play? I think Kirby wants to have a playoff game at home.
Yeah, I mean that'd be fantastic.
I really do. I mean, if you look at it'd be great to have a bye, but what's the point of the bye if you can get clicking on all cylinders?
What was Georgia ranked in the playoff rankings? 5, 4? 5. So let's say they lose to Texas, that would probably put them at, I don't know, 7 or 8. That could be playing like Ohio State round 1. That would mess up my whole bracket, but it would be cool to have a home playoff game.
But I don't know. I mean, you look at the teams that Kirby's beat at the Benz. You said it was their second home. They beat LSU, an Auburn team. What other ones have they beat?
I mean, the only people who they've lost to there is Alabama.
That's what I'm getting at. And I think Texas is a better football team than Georgia. Their defense has a lot of playmakers. Their offense, like he said, Blue's a nasty running back.
They have figured out the run game for sure. We'll find out Saturday, though.
And that was the thing. We said that they hadn't played anybody, but who has Georgia played since Tennessee?
What?
Since Tennessee, dummy.
They played 2 games. They had the hardest schedule in the entire nation at number 3.
I didn't say the whole thing, you dork. Georgia's banged up. I don't see them winning this game. I just don't. And
they are banged up too.
Saturday.
Is ETN playing Saturday?
That's what I'm saying. He's questionable, and if he does play, he's going to be a liability. Yeah, I mean, when you got Cash Jones, he's a dog, but I mean,
Branson Robinson's a dog too. All right,
yeah,
here we go.
He's also questionable.
Oh, is he? Oh, hell. All right, see, I didn't know that, but I'm gonna go through my bracket real quick. I have Oregon winning the Big Ten. They're gonna stay 1. I got Georgia pulling the upset. They're gonna be number 2. Boise State being the 3rd highest rated conference champion is going to be 3. 4 is going to be Arizona State because Arizona State is going to be the 4th highest rated conference champion. 5, Notre Dame. The Bums don't play in a conference, so that's where they're going to be. They're going to be number 5 seed. That's as high as they can get. 6, Texas. I think losing to Georgia, that's where they'll drop from 2 to around 6. 7, Penn State. After they lose, they're not going to drop too far. They're still going to be ahead of Ohio State, in my opinion. Number 8. Ohio State. Number 9, Tennessee. Number 10, Indiana. 11, SMU. They said if you lose the conference championship game, they're not going to punish you for playing in it. So I'll go 11, SMU, and 12 is Clemson sneaking in as the 5th highest rated conference champion.
SMU versus Texas would be a super interesting football game.
Yeah, both for battle for the state of Texas, baby. Would love it. Those are some interesting games, and that's honestly what I'm rooting for. I would love to see. See, I had it flipped before the rankings came out Tuesday. I had Ohio State at 9 and Tennessee at 8, but the loss to Michigan must not have been that bad because the committee kept Ohio State above Tennessee. So then I had to swap it. But that's what I got. Hopefully that'll play out. Now I got 2 trivia questions for you, and then we're out of here. Trivia question number 1. What college football team won the first ever college football playoff national championship?
What again?
What team won the first ever college football playoff national championship? So that would have been 2014.
It was Alabama.
No.
No.
It was Alabama, wasn't it?
Was
They
it
won the first one.
Clemson?
They had the chance to win the last one.
Alabama played in the semifinals against this team and lost.
Was it Clemson?
Ohio State won the first ever one. It was.
I was about to say it would be Ohio State then.
It was Alabama, Ohio State in one semifinal. Ohio State pulled off the upset. And do you remember it was Florida State and Oregon on the other side. And that was the game that Jameis Winston was running backwards and just dropped the ball. Y'all remember that? The meme? Y'all remember that? He was like dropping back for a pass and nobody touched him and he fell and the ball pops up in the air. Oregon picks it up, runs it in for a touchdown, and then the referee falls too. They were like, there's oil slick on the field or something. All right, last trivia question. And this is just a U.S. president's trivia question. Who was the 40th president of the United States of America?
Hold on.
Yeah.
What are we at now? We're at 46.
Trump's going to be 47. So Biden's 46.
Biden.
I'll say this. He is one of the most popular presidents of all time.
Was it, wait.
JFK?
Was it Bill Clinton?
No, Clinton was 30. No, Clinton was 41, I think.
So it would have been H.W. Bush.
Yeah, it'd be H.W.
Oh, no. Then Clinton was 42. Or 42.
Well, then it was Reagan.
It was Reagan. I just finished reading a huge documentary. Or not documentary, book on him. I just finished this book. 700 pages of straight knowledge right here.
Well, let me see what it is. I can't see. Huh. What about they just did a movie about Reagan not too long ago, and there's a new documentary about Winston Churchill on Netflix, by the way.
I watched the first episode last night.
Oh, really? Was it good?
Yeah, pretty good. I fell asleep with like 10 minutes left in the first episode, but it was pretty good. Winston Churchill was a fat little booger, wasn't he?
He was.
He's short.
Come on.
Hey, but those Churchill those Churchill lunchtime cigars, they're about this big. Freaking supreme.
I love it. All right, guys, that's all I got. Unless y'all got anything else.
No, we're good.